This is a joint meeting of the district level building level advisory committee and the district advisory building committee and the building level advisory committee. So it is Thursday, May 18th, and we are meeting via Zoom. I'm Emily Figdor. I'm the District 2 school board representative and one of the co-chairs of the district advisory building committee. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Hello, Matthew. Hi, Angie. Let's do as we've been more accustomed to do more recently and hold the meeting minutes until the end of the meeting, as we typically have people join us a little bit after we get started. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and hand it over to Mark and the Harriman team to lead us through the agenda tonight. And as I just said to Jessica, to those of you who just joined us, tonight's meeting is really an informational meeting. We won't be voting on anything tonight, but we thought it was important to meet, given that we didn't meet in April, to update everyone on the status of the 3 projects. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Harriman.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, Emily. So we've got a more intimate crowd tonight. So if there are questions, I'll just kind of keep my eyes open for the hands up. But if anyone else, I guess, and I'll allow the co-chair to moderate. But let me see if I can get our presentation shared here. And we will go in similar fashion, and we're just going to give a construction update as we typically have done, just where we are in the phasing of the construction and a few of the photos of the recent progress. We'll give you an update on the contingencies, where those are, and then the overall budget. We'll call on Mr. Lewis for that, and he's the keeper of the master budget spreadsheet now, so Dave will give us an update. And then, as Emily discussed, we will give you an update on where we are with FFE, and we'll talk about some dates that are on the calendar. And let's see if I can go forward here. So on the construction update, we start with Longfellow. And the lower images, the first floor is on the upper level, and then the lower level. So those depict primarily the additions, and then the addition is labeled with the 2D, the light blue, and then also the elevator 2C. And then the lower level renovations were the bathrooms as well as the art room and a few. And again, there wasn't a wholesale renovation in those areas, but bathrooms are fairly completely renovated spaces. And then we've got the kindergarten wing right here that we had done. So just in terms of 2B, which is that lower level where the bathrooms were, that's completely owner occupied right now. The elevator is installed. We're just waiting for inspection. And there's some exterior work that remains on the enclosure of the elevator shaft. Just some smaller miscellaneous things to finish up. And then in terms of the addition, both levels are occupied, and they have been for some time. And we're just working on some exterior finish items as well on those. And identified here is the kindergarten classrooms, which are complete on that first floor level. So I will pause for a second before we go to the next slide. Okay. So the phase 5 was the upper level, the second floor. And right now the abatement is nearly complete on that second level, which and there's already a lot of framing that's underway, and we'll see that in a moment in the next slide here. But not only are they doing some of the rough-ins, electrical and whatnot for rough-ins, but they're also working on framing walls and soffits, and we'll see that, and then painting. That upper level is intended to be complete at the end of the summer, and which at that time we'll actually have the ability to come up and occupy all those classrooms on the second floor, and we'll move into the first floor, the library and music over on the entrance side of the building by the gym. And so that really becomes phase 6. And that will begin actually when school gets out. So we'll have a little bit of overlap here, but as soon as the building is available from that lower level, there'll be a lot of the work we have been waiting for to get into the corridors, and then some of the code upgrades in the library and the music room will happen. And so that is pretty exciting that we're kind of entering into that last push here. That also is scheduled to be complete in August. So right now, that is our goalpost that we're kind of marching toward. And then we have site work, removing the portables. Wonderful. We're finally at that point here with Longfellow. And then after we get the portables removed, there is some cleaning up of the site that has to happen around that as well. We're calling that additional site work phase 7. So phase 5 and phase 6 are the summer work here, and then really coming into the home stretch. And I'll pause for a minute if there are any questions before I move to the pictures.
I don't have any questions, just a couple of updates that speak to how quickly things are happening on site. In the few days since the presentation was prepared and now, the phase 5 second floor abatement has been completed and the elevator has been inspected. So 2 great milestones within just the past few days.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
All right. So the photos here are again, probably not as current as Dave's information, but fairly current in terms of the progress. So you can see some of the framing that's going on the wall right there in the center. The studs and the electrical rough-ins that are going in and communication conduit. And then you can see where the drywall has gone on and getting ready to paint. At the exterior wall, there's framing that goes against the exterior windows to allow the ceiling to come in and tie into that. And that's the final product of what that soffit looks like on the lower right-hand corner. So that ceiling then comes in and dies into that soffit. So that's going on. And then we've got sheetrock going in the toilet rooms that toilet room we created over by the elevator. So that's good news. That's a lot of good progress upstairs, and that'll continue making progress throughout the summer. All right, moving to Reiki. Phase 5 is almost complete, and so that's a project, or that's a phase that's been going on during this period of months, almost from the January to now, and so the finished flooring is underway. And when the flooring is one of the last pieces we do, so that we know we're getting really close to the completion when we're starting to put down the flooring. Sealant going on in areas, the plumbing fixtures, and then the ceiling tile, what we call flooding the ceiling, but the grid is up and we start to install all the tile. And then we've got piping that has to tie in for the heating. And then we're putting the siding on the stair tower that we added on the right-hand side of the building as you enter. So the roof plaza, that is waiting to begin this summer. So that will that'll just commence as soon as we get the students safely out of the building and that work, and we have the permit from the city, so nothing should hold us out. And yet, I agree. So, all right. In terms of opportunities, I guess we had kind of a slide of opportunities and challenges, mostly opportunities at this point. And that is to be able to start the art and music rooms a little bit earlier. And so I think the the idea that we can get in there and not have to worry about the roof plaza, and so that we can actually start those and get a little bit of a faster making up some time in that area of the schedule itself. So that's pretty exciting. And then the modulars are scheduled to be removed after school is out as well. So that also is pretty exciting. So I think that will conclude modulars from all three of those schools, which is great too. So big part of the effort of the BFOF was as that initiative. So and then the decision was made to remove the concrete slab. We had to create a foundation for the portables because the code says if they're in there for any length of time over 6 months, then they're considered permanent. We had to have a permanent foundation for those. So that slab that we're going to remove, and that affects a little bit of the ability to use that more flexibly, the site, the play space. And then we, I guess, EV conduits have been removed from the project. And as the city will provide four EV charging spots. I'm not that familiar with that detail, so I don't know if others on the call can fill us in a little bit more on the whole charging stations.
Yeah, the city of Portland has, prior to our starting the project, had plans for EV charging stations. Excuse me, we had installed those at the East End School as well. And Troy Moon is leading that effort. And there'll be, I believe, 4 EV charging stations that were planned for our project with Harriman, but superseded here by the city. So we did not have to follow through with that. Troy and his project managers have that project in hand.
Great, Steve. So I'm assuming there's a little credit coming back, perhaps for the scope we don't have to run for those conduits? Or?
Yeah, small credit coming back, yeah. Right. We were providing conduit and power out there for the charging stations, but that was all part of the city's agreement with their contractor for the EV stations throughout the city.
Right.
Yeah, we got the credit back, and I think it's already been incorporated into a change order.
All right, and if Emily's still there, I think there's a hand up. Let's see here. Go ahead, Charlie.
Thanks. Just wanted to clarify, we know that parking at Reiki is incredibly tight. I don't mind liaising with the city about those EV parking spots, just because if they're dedicated just to those spots, that would be a huge problem for our staff. Just even the loss of 4 spots. What would you recommend in terms of who to reach out to?
Charlie, we've already covered that. It is not going to be available to the public during school hours, and it'll be signed as the East End School is. So the parking is your school's parking during the day. Off school hours, then EV charging will be open to the public. So that's straight from Troy Moon, so you can talk to Troy if you'd like.
Good. So, little update here on phase 5. We've got paint all done, flooring going down. You can see the ceiling tiles are piled, and some protective paper on some of the wood millwork that's there, the informal gathering space outside of some of the conference or small group rooms. And again, you can see from the center images just the level of progress on those. We've got resource inside one of the rooms, resource room with tall storage cabinets, ceiling ready to be flooded. We've got the new unit ventilator identified here. And then here's the progress on the second floor toilet room. So nice new bathroom there. So can't recognize it as Reiki. The old Reiki anyway. Good. And lastly, Presumpscot, which not a lot left there. The majority of the punch list items were completed over April vacation, so that's bit in the rearview mirror now here, but and then replacement of the incorrect color tile in the cafeteria will be completed as soon as summer break begins. So we are going to go back to the originally designed flooring there, and then some additional flooring related punch list items. We've had some issues with some of the tile, and so that's going to be corrected as well. The big piece that we were waiting for after we started occupying the building was the site work itself, and so the modulars have been demoed. So that's exciting to see those removed, and then the removal of the foundations for those, and the removal of the temporary road will start again after school gets out in June here. So and then we've got some site work on the fields, regrading those and loaming and seeding those, and some other landscaping. So really, mid-June that will start, and that'll run until early July. So just a little bit less than a month to complete that work. So pretty exciting that will wrap up the effort at Przemska. And Jessica.
Hi. I just have a follow-up question that's been floating around at Przemska. People are just wondering about the rationale of not having windows that open in the new classrooms. And I'm just kind of wondering, so I can, answer that question, why would the classrooms not have windows that open, especially this beautiful time of year when everybody would love to be able to open their classroom window?
Yeah, some of that goes back to conversations way back about thinking of the fact that we've got the full climatized environment in those rooms, and then we've also got some windows that are down very low to the floor in some of the kindergarten rooms, and so reviewed the I guess the benefit, or not necessarily benefit, but the features of having the open window versus does the code require it, and what does it do to the HVAC systems, and it was I guess a decision at that time just to go with the fix. We didn't need to have it operable. It's in that environment, but and so the rationale was really around mostly HVAC and the low windows, and I think that just got carried over to all the windows in that area, so that there's a little bit of control of access through a window from the outside to the inside. All right. Images from this is going back a little bit, but we have that's one of those low windows I was talking about, and even the sills and some of the larger windows are down pretty low. But that's the view of the kindergarten west wall. That's all now fully furnished. We have the warming kitchen equipment that's been installed, the entrance canopy and the site work around that, and then the front canopy entry detail. So these are, again, these are a little bit older, that a lot of the work's been all done. Some of the punch lists have already been done. So this is for those who have been through the school. Now it's occupied and being lived in. And I don't know if those who are here that have now been occupying it for a couple months have any other information or feedback. So I know, Jessica, you probably have had some time in there, and Ange, I think you're on the line.
It's been great to have so much space. It's like kind of people just can't get over that we're not all on top of each other all the time. And the kids are loving the cafeteria. It's just really, really like transformed the school in ways that that was like the vision for all of this. So it's pretty amazing.
That's great to
Just
hear.
share quickly, Mark, about movie night that was in the last few weeks. That was just great to have the cafeteria space to watch a movie. And then just, I don't think the kitchen has been used to the extent that it can be, but just to have access to that. And yeah, it was just, the families were really enjoying the space, and it was great to be able to, kids have been using it and being in there for meals, but I don't think a lot of families had the chance to be in there. So that was really great to have that space to use.
Excellent. Good. No, it's great to see it being used the way we hoped it would. So, and maybe even accomplishing things we didn't anticipate. So, good stuff.
So exciting to see the modulars get demolished too. I went out and took a picture of it.
No more. Did we call them the cottages? I'm trying to think what they were. Yeah. So no more cottages. All right. Kind of an update on where we are with the contingencies. I'll start at the bottom actually and go up just to, this Presumpscot is pretty close. Again, we've at about a month or so of site work, but we have transferred some most recently to Reiki, and so we've got $4,000 left in the contingency pot for Presumpscot. So pretty close to utilizing all of the funds that were earmarked or have transferred those contingency funds to the other schools. The Reiki, we are right now at about a little under 70,000. There have been a few surprises that have come up, some wiring and some other items that have eaten a little bit more aggressively into that number. And so we're watching that one really carefully, but we're getting a little anxious about it. But we've got some time to see exactly how fast that drawdown occurs. Again, we're getting closer to understanding just every month that goes by. We a little more certainty in terms of what we're going to need to finish it. But that one we're a little vigilant over. And then also with Longfellow, we're right now at about 118,000. And as I said, there's not a tremendous amount of time left on these, but we are getting a little close, and so some of the surprises are starting to get close. So this has been that conversation we've had back and forth with just the certainty of making sure we can cover the construction cost, and using the FFE as a little bit of that buffer on the project budget, because as Dave will show us shortly where the overall project budget is, that those are really the areas that we can shift funds right now, and most everything else has been accounted for. So I'll pause for a second before we move to the project budget sheets. Okay. Oops. And Dave Lewis, I know these are really, really small numbers, but you all, I think, have the access to this presentation, so you can zoom in if you need to for any of them that you have details on. But Dave, if you just want to give us kind of the big picture.
Yeah, I'll give you the big picture. This is an update from I think it was the February meeting. We had a pretty significant budget update. And as Mark mentioned, we were tracking every penny, and I have my eyes on that $4,856 left at Presumpscot, because we're going to need to plug that in somewhere else. Everything as it is now, the budget, we're still a little bit below the bond amount, which is where we want to be. Using the words challenges and opportunities, as you can see, the red number, the negative number for the hazardous material testing and oversight, is pretty well over budget across the board. And we're moving into some significant abatement at Longfellow, and there's some upcoming abatement at Reiki. The abatement is owned as part of the contract. The testing and oversight is carried as this line item. And particularly at Longfellow, pretty much the last 4 to 5 weeks has been abatement intensive, which means it's been testing and oversight intensive. So once those invoices come in, we'll be able to plug them in and see where the bottom line lies. It's not all doom and gloom, because there are some opportunities in some of the line items, like construction testing. There's not a lot left to be done at some of the schools, and the bottom line available there is pretty healthy. And permitting and approvals was a nice surprise, because that line item was actually carried in Harriman's basic services, or it might have been as an additional service. So that is a chunk that is potentially available to offset some of the overages as well. And squinting at my own spreadsheet here. And yeah, I think those are the two big non-FF&E potential sources of some funding for abatement and via the additional change orders. But we're every month, every week, every day updating the budget with known and anticipated expenses. And as Mark mentioned, there are some change orders coming up for at Reiki and Longfellow that we'll need to deal with. So we are maintaining our vigilance over every penny.
Dave, this is Emily. I know you've explained it to me before, but
Yes.
Could you explain again why the hazardous material testing and oversight is over budget? What's your sense of why those costs are higher than we expected?
From what SME, the agency doing that, has explained, their budget was based on it was based on the contract documents without a detailed contractor's schedule, and they had to adjust once there was this the GC's schedule. They needed to adjust how they approached the project, and the delay claim apparently the startup and scheduling changes, they say, have thrown their original anticipated schedule out of whack. And it's one of those things, we got to do it. We can't say don't test and oversee all of this. Absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to appreciate this spreadsheet. I don't find this hard to read. I know there's a ton of complexity in here, and you've presented it in a way that is really accessible. So just thank you so much for all that you're doing and for watching every penny, especially as we get down to the wire like this. Yep. Yeah, it's the final crunch, the final squeeze. Jeremy, go ahead.
Thanks. I just wanted to know, what are we abating? Are we talking about lead, asbestos, or just what?
At Longfellow, it's been primarily asbestos, and the upcoming abatement has been or will be in the existing gym. There's asbestos debris above an existing plaster ceiling, which is above the suspended ceiling and lighting that's in the gym. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a significant effort there. And at Longfellow, there was I believe there was floor tile and mastic. Some additional pipe insulation was discovered, and I think I don't know the abatement report as well as I should. Reiki, I think it's floor tile and mastic.
So it's all asbestos, though, basically.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It's
I just wanted to know.
Lots of asbestos. Yep.
That's perfect. Thanks.
Okay.
Great. All right. Appreciate it, Dave. Furniture update, just to let you know that furniture packages have been prepared for Reiki and Presumpscot. So we've got met with staff and faculty and have put together those lists. Longfellow, still a few items I think we're just nailing down in that package. So what we are thinking of that we're going to do is bid all 3 schools as one bid. So there's purchasing power and also less complexity in terms of managing 3 separate bids and potentially 3 different vendors, and so just a little bit easier sourcing to get it as a single bid. And then right now, what we, as we've alluded to, we're being a little cautious with the funds that are available from the on the contingency side. So what we're looking to do, as we did with Presumpscot, we had an early package for the most immediate needs, and we're identifying those right now for Reiki and for Longfellow, so that we can go ahead and procure that while we're still sorting out just exactly what the final outcome of the contingency is going to be. So those have a threshold of 25,000, that early package, and so that right now is kind of, and those are typically quick ship stuff, and then so when we get a little bit further in the summer and we are really in the tail end, then we know exactly what the funds will be. Then we'll go ahead and go through the bidding process to solicit quotes for the large furniture packages. So, and we don't anticipate there's a significant draw or change from what we have been targeting, but we just, again, want to be careful. And if we do need to have a little bit of funds shifted over, that will make sure that we haven't expended those amounts and not provide us the opportunity to make any adjustments if we need to. So the good news is, in this 2-part process, that we can go ahead and procure the most immediate needs now and have them available hopefully for the fall or very soon thereafter, and then we'll go forward with the larger furniture packages. Emily?
Yeah, so I think you said it really well, Mark, but I just wanted to flag for the 2 committees that this is a change in posture for us. We had been moving forward with the bids, or now 1 bid, but given how close we're getting on the contingencies, we wanted to hold back and be a little bit more conservative, so we can be sure that we have the money to finish the projects. So we anticipate we will, but we want to be a little bit more cautious. And so by the late summer, when the projects are almost complete, we'll be all that much closer to having a really good picture of where we're going to land, and then with confidence can put out the bid for the final for the full package, what we don't order in the quick ship, in the near term. Aura?
Thanks. I just wanted to clarify, Mark, when you said fall or later, was that about the quick ship, or is that the additional?
The quick ship. So we typically the quick ship stuff comes pretty quickly, but nowadays, we're just supply chains seem to creep up everywhere. But the idea is to get this stuff, and there shouldn't be a problem with that. But I don't want to go on record saying that it's going to arrive for the quick ship stuff.
Okay. And so that means when you're saying short-term priorities, I mean, I'm just concerned about things like were our staff and buildings expecting things like like things that are needed for instruction in classroom, right? Like for the new spaces versus things that are more nice to have things. Like can you give a little more specificity about that, what the items are that are
absolutely. We fully anticipate that every space has the ability to function in the fall. So that's most of this is either replacement for stuff that is in poor condition or augmenting spaces or furniture that you have in spaces right now. So that's largely what it is. There's nothing that we're going to somehow not be able to have classes because we're waiting for furniture to arrive.
Okay, so some of it was, I'm remembering like Emily Hurley talking about some like older chairs, desks, right? Things that were not in good condition. That's what you're talking about, replacing, but not actually not having furniture for new spaces.
That's right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, and we'll continue to update folks as we march forward with the early quick ship product and what timeframes are after we get those packages out and get some more information from vendors.
So Mark, Steve, I had a conversation with Charlie via email this morning, and in our last meeting, I was under the impression that we were going to start looking at the quick ships in June. And Catherine's going to work with principals Nicole and Charlie to help identify that. So can you clarify for me again then what you did for Aura? Are you anticipating it in the fall for the quick ships?
Yeah, prior to the fall, prior to the start of school in the fall.
Prior to the start of school.
Correct. Yep.
And if we were on the same schedule as we were with WB Mason, it was a pretty quick turnaround. So
that's right, at Przemska.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. And it doesn't take long to go up because we don't have to go through a whole waiting period of a bid process and getting information. So it's usually very, very quick. And we can reach out to vendors that we work with. So such as
all right. So is that helpful, Charlie?
Thank you, Steve, and thanks, Mark. Just mindful of all the work that's gone into this. Thank you. Do want to advocate for Reiki publicly to say we have the most redeveloped new or just developed new teaching spaces that will require significant furniture, and that's the ordering process we've gone through. I look forward to hearing about the quick ship. When do you think that will happen, Mark?
I would suspect that within the next probably 2 weeks, we'll have the final packages ready for that quick ship. So early June.
And a point of information on quick ship for everyone is that WB Mason and others who can provide that are priority vendors on the city's list under 25,000 doesn't need to be a competitive bid. So that gives us that quick ship ability to bring in furniture like we did at Przemska, and then one procurement for all the remaining for the 3 schools.
And so do we know what of the larger furniture order, do we know what for each school is would be included in the quick ship? I think I lost track of that.
Yeah, I think right now the final details of exactly what goes into that are being identified, but we're pretty close. Like I said, in the next couple of weeks, that should be wrapped up, and we can reach out to those vendors. So the total packages are there. So I think it's just waiting for final confirmation and also making sure that we're within that threshold of 25,000.
And I guess my question for our building leaders is what we'll get in the quick ship enough quick ship? These are new new phrases for me. Is it enough to get us started in the next school year? because I've been advocating for us to be conservative with the final procurement, but I also want to make sure, because ultimately we need the money to ensure that we can pay to finish the construction. But I also want to make sure we have the furniture to be able to use the new spaces. Yeah, Charlie, please.
Thanks for that question, Emily. Yeah, I think mindful that the scope of Reiche's order, which was many times magnitude of this, just to get the required furniture, this would be quite tight, in terms of what we would look at. I don't believe they would meet the needs of all of the new teaching spaces, to answer your question. So that's why I think there's a timeliness involved, and I'm looking forward to sitting down with Harriman to that $25,000 is a lot of money, of course. In terms of like trying to outfit all of these new teaching spaces, is not.
So I guess that leaves me wondering, Steve and Terry, if we have furniture elsewhere that we could use. I mean, I know it's not ideal, but on a temporary basis, if we have furniture elsewhere stored that we could use, for instance, at Reiche in the new teaching spaces, in order to get us through to the time when we can move forward with the full bid.
I know that Tamara did kind of an audit of all our stuff that was in storage. So I don't know if she's on, whether she can speak to whether we'd have enough to do that as a temporary measure.
I do have it on a spreadsheet. I can look through it and maybe throw it over to Charlie on anything extra we have to see if that would be helpful.
So Charlie, can we try and troubleshoot this and come back? And if it's not going to be sufficient, we should know that. But
happy to work on it any time, Emily. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
And I'll follow up with Catherine exactly on our timing for that too. So you can confirm if indeed there's a concern with what we can get under that first order.
And just want to acknowledge again that this is a change in our posture, and I do think it's necessary, especially as the contingency has gotten pretty tight at Reiche. So I just appreciate everyone's flexibility and problem solving as we move through the final stages of these projects.
Okay. Lastly, but we have minutes potentially. So, but lastly, we have the next scheduled meeting is June 15th. So that's, of course, time of year that gets a little, I don't know, I'm trying to think, what is the last day of school?
Last day is the 21st.
There you go. So this is before, so everyone has to come still to our June meeting. So, and also we're looking now at ribbon cutting. So it's great now, after all of you have been meeting for so many months and years, that we can now start thinking about the ribbon cuttings for all the schools. But so we're targeting the fall, because right now it's probably great to be able to celebrate all of them in similar time frame, and after the summer when everyone's back in the fall. So that's stay tuned for more information there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mark. I don't believe that we have a quorum to consider and approve the minutes. So unless anyone objects, I propose that we hold the minutes to our June meeting, and we can approve the minutes from our March meeting and from this meeting at the June meeting. And I know the June meeting is late in the year. I would encourage us to have the meeting so that everyone can get updated on the projects before the summer. We won't meet in July because July is traditionally unless absolutely necessary. The school board does not meet in July. And so our next opportunity for us to meet would be in August. So any last questions or concerns or feedback? If not, I want to thank Mark and Emily on the Harriman team, and thank and Dave and our operations staff, and everyone else who joined the meeting tonight. That's all we have for you tonight. So we'll see you on June 15th. And thank you so much. Have a good night.